Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've been on, and obviously we've been building up to the general elections, and it is going to be an absolutely long night with traders trading around the world. The general elections, the pound, the volatility, it's all pretty crazy. So what I decided to do is we put a video together to make sure that you guys can stay on top of what's to be expected, what to look out for, and also what some of my traders are going to be looking out for in the market. Guys, do not forget to click the thumbs up button, comment and subscribe. It's super important if you like this content. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to let Jack and Liam go over the politics and let them run through their expectations of what they're looking for and what their focuses are going to be throughout the evening after 10 p.m. when the exit polls start coming out. So I'll leave that to them, and what I'll do is I'll be giving you some tips and tricks on quick ways on how and what I'm looking for in the markets.
What's up, guys? Hope you're having a great week in the markets. It's obviously general election day today here in the UK. We're just going to run through some scenarios that we're looking at, some important information to look for in the general election today in the markets, obviously coming out this evening, the results. So what are you going to be looking for today, Liam?
Well, I think we'll be looking at the battlegrounds really. So first of all, you have the traditional Labour voters, sort of constituencies such as Bolsover, which have traditionally voted Labour. I think it's been a Labour constituency since the 50s. However, they voted quite heavily Leave. I think it's around 70%. So it'll be interesting to see how they vote. Will they switch to a sort of more pro-Brexit Tory party? Another battleground will be Scotland.
Right.
Obviously, Conservatives did quite well last election in Scotland. Ruth Davidson standing down as sort of the leader of the Scottish Conservatives. That'll be interesting to see if there's an appetite in Scotland for a second referendum.
Yeah.
This second referendum, are people sick of referendums after our Brexit
definitely.
referendum? They said it was a once in a generation chance to vote. It'll be interesting to see if the SNP do gain any more seats and sort of do have enough power to sort of get that second referendum through.
I know that North East Fife is marginal between S and P.
Yeah, so that's obviously a key battleground. See how Conservatives perform. Will Scotland, who heavily voted Remain, will they back a Conservative Party that's clearly wants Brexit to occur? Also, tactical voting could come into it, with the recent YouGov poll showing that Labour and the Conservative Party, their sort of distance between each other is narrowing. It'd be interesting to see if that narrows further between sort of now and the time of that YouGov poll to now and the exit poll. That'll be a very interesting one. Will people tactically vote instead of voting for their chosen party? Will they switch their allegiances to a party that has a chance of beating their rival? That'll be an interesting one.
So there's obviously a few scenarios that we have to consider. I'm going to go starting with Conservatives. If we get a significant Conservative majority, it's likely that we will be able to progress the Brexit process a lot quicker. It can be beneficial for UK businesses to have that certainty back in the market, and we may possibly see some significant rallies in, I'm going to focus on cable, so pound dollar. There could be some significant rallies during the night and obviously into trading tomorrow and sort of for the rest of the year into next year, looking at the Conservative significant majority scenario. If we then look to a slimmer majority, it may then be more difficult to get through some of the processes for the Conservatives in Parliament. So that obviously there's still some slight uncertainty in that situation. Possibly getting a hung parliament as well, which could be very uncertain for the markets.
That's true, but even with, say, the Conservatives did get a sort of small majority, as Boris kept saying, that all my party members now back my deal. So hopefully that would even make progress if even it was a slim majority. It'll be definitely an interesting night. Obviously Sunderland and Newcastle tend to announce first, so that would be a good indication. Obviously at 10 o'clock we have the exit poll being released. That's a sort of key time. We'll get to see the gauges across the nation of how people have voted.
Markets are obviously going to be focusing on those particular battlegrounds that you mentioned earlier. So it'll be interesting to see how those results come out through the night, sort of between 12 and 6 roughly, isn't it?
12 and 6, yeah, roughly. Some constituencies do announce within the hour of the polls closing, but yeah, it will depend on sort of how quick their counters are, what the voter turnout is. Obviously, turnout's never 100%. It could be this year, doubt it, but it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something definitely to watch out for.
Definitely interesting. Going back to some of the voting scenarios, let's say we get a situation where very slim chance of a Labour majority based on the polls so far. If we do get a Labour majority, obviously it's looking like that may be detrimental to the markets, and we may see some reductions in the price of cable if that scenario comes about. Obviously very slim chance based on the polls that have been coming out. But yeah, that's another scenario to look at overnight tonight.
Yeah, and yeah, overall, it'll be an interesting night.
So first of all, I'm heading over to SpreadX. They are a sports play betting platform, okay? They're a casino, they do FX and financials as well. We won't go into them. But what I'm doing here and what you can see on my screen is the one thing that you can take away from sports betting companies is their research and their analytical team are literally second to none with what they're looking at, because they always want the odds in their favour to make sure that they're kind of capitalising on what people are voting on. So it's a great way to kind of see all the research around on the entire internet put into one kind of area where you can get kind of an evaluation of what these people are expecting to see from the markets. So if I'm looking at this, and this is kind of one indicator that I look at, and it's incredibly important to kind of see from an external point of view what people are voting on. So if I'm to walk through that, and I've been tracking these odds throughout just to see how they do. Now, you know, if I'm to be out there and be completely blunt, we'll work with decimals on this one, okay? So there's a 301 return for the Brexit party to get an overall majority. So we know, looking at that from a statistical point of view, obviously we know this, but it's important to cover it if you're not keeping up to date with the politics. There's a 501 return on your money for Lib Democrats majority vote. So we know they're not going to get a majority vote. Then we come down to Labour majority, which is a 17 return on your money. So you bet £1, you get 17 back if you win. But you've got to remember, the better the odds and returns, such as Lib Democrats at 501, you know, you're not betting £1 and getting 501 back for a reason. The reason they've done that is because the likelihood is so minimal that they're actually going to get in. We then move to a no overall majority, so a hung parliament, and that's a 3. Okay, so that's like £1 bet. We're looking at getting 3 back on that one. But then we look at the Conservative majority. Now, this has been fluctuating, and if anything, the odds have been slowly decreasing. It's still highly valued and favoured at the moment with a 1.44. So that means if I bet £1, I'm going to get £1.44 back. So I get my pound that I bet plus my 44 pence. So at the moment, it looks like Conservatives are going to win with a majority. These odds do change all the time, and if anything, the Conservative majority has got slightly weaker since yesterday, because it was 1.36. So it just goes to show what's capable. Now, that's kind of what I've looked at on a quick summary when we look at betting odds. Betting odds, again, they've got the full team behind doing all the analytical work. So it's good to see where the bookies are at with these bets. Very important. And it's a quick tip. Took me a 2-minute window there just to check it out and see what they're up to. We're now going to head over to the charts, and we're going to give some expectations of where we see the market going. Okay, so obviously we've seen cable here being on an absolute strong rally from the 25th of July 2019 all the way up to today. Now, things to keep an eye out for as a trader. As you'll know, not only with Wild DFX brokerage, but also with AxiTrader, ETX, all of the big brokerages out there have all reduced their margins, because it means that there's going to be a lot of volatility that's happening in the market, which means you need to make sure that you're not risking too much capital when you're trading, especially on these kind of days. Take it easy and take it light, okay? So we've been hearing some news that there's going to be over 300 to 400 pip movement before the election results even come out. So that's 300 to 400 pips before which is absolutely crazy. Okay, so expect volatility. Where we are at now, we're currently priced at 1.31. Okay, so this is on the daily. You know, we are seeing a potential 300 to 400. So if I just to measure that out for you, you know, that's, you know, before the results, we could see cable hitting 1.34, all the way down to around about 1.283. So it's crazy to see how far it can move, and that's just before elections. Now, if we go down to the smaller time frames, which we trade on, like the 5 minute, you can see already from last night to this morning, we've seen a bit of a support zone that's been formed here down around this level here, which is the 1.311 level, which I've pointed out on my chart here. And when we're looking at this and we're kind of reviewing it, you can see how it's bouncing off of these levels. Now, if these levels are broken, we're going to see an absolute fall in price, and I can fully see a 300 pip movement, because when you see that, that's, you know, 300 pips is only coming back down to roughly around 26th of November price range, which, you know, it's not that difficult to foresee that happening. We could see cable go as high as 1.4 if we see a conservative majority, and if that happens, that's a big move. 1.4 has been spoken about on the news quite a bit. That would be over an 880 pip move to the upside, and on cable alone, that could be over 5-6% increase in price, which is incredible to see that. So guys, there's going to be a huge amount of volatility. I tend to try to stay away from this in the markets. Keep a close eye on the betting odds. I want to see that conservative, the odds get worse for me, as in like I would get a lower return on my money, which means that there's a higher outlook that the conservatives will get a majority. With that being said, if I see that matching up with it bouncing off of support and resistance levels, using tight stop losses, you can look to make good money from the election results. So guys, it's going to be an absolute late night for us. I think we'll do a full breakdown of how we've traded over the next few days through the election period. One more thing to touch base on, you know, if you are trading on this, and try to take away your kind of political opinion on what you foresee happening in the markets, because when you start bringing in your own opinion, it's not going to happen. You know, even though it's saying conservative majority at the moment, if we look at the last two elections that we've seen, they're both shocked the world on what pretty much has happened. So I wouldn't put anything past it again in this scenario. I know it looks unlikely that there's going to be a hung parliament. However, we cannot rule it out at this stage. If we start seeing those odds and the exit polls coming into play showing a higher majority of Conservatives than expected, then we should start seeing cable move to the upside. So if you're watching the news and you're planning on trading tonight, more news that's steering towards a hung parliament is obviously higher Lib Dem and Labour exit poll results coming in their favour, and obviously a Conservative majority would see pound move higher. But in any scenario of any type of a hung parliament, you will see pound fall. Don't take my word for it, obviously, but review it in the markets yourself and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So guys, be risk averse on these kind of trading days. It's not one that you want to take the risk on, especially with the increased margin requirements that you have in the marketplace. Guys, we're going to be doing some insane prize giveaways as well over Christmas in one of our Christmas episodes, and it's going to be something that you guys can all get involved with. So I'll be giving you a bit more information on that in the next episode. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope this has helped you with your trading for tonight and the elections and throughout the rest of the long morning. If you're feeling anything, we'll be there with you trading away, so don't worry too much. Make sure you thumbs up, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.